Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another F1 2020 Game Ideas video here today with 7 things I want to see in the F1 2020 career mode, following specifically the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix. All ideas that came to mind whilst watching this Grand Prix weekend, things to maybe make the game a bit more realistic or kind of mimic the real life sport that we all love and watch each Grand Prix weekend in and out. Obviously, that's the kind of task of the game, to try and mimic what it is like in real life. Obviously, certain things, certain mechanics have to be a certain way in the video game to make sure it works as a actual fun functioning game, but other things I think should be in there, even if they are harsh things to the player, such as reliability and whatnot. So we're going to get into it then with the very first thing is going to be AI strategy mistakes and gambles. I think the AI, especially not your team, other teams around you, need to be able to take gambles and need to be making more mistakes on strategy. We saw that this weekend. Hamilton and Mercedes as a whole really took the gamble with the strategy today, and it didn't pay off for them. You know, it really didn't. They were expecting maybe to go long for a safety car, or they even at one point there was discussion about, did Mercedes really think that Ferrari and the other cars around them, Red Bull, were doing a two-stop in that Grand Prix? Because, you know, there was the only logical kind of way maybe to explain why they went long, and in the end it just didn't pay off, and the Mercs finished behind the Red Bull Verstappen, which was a shock because Verstappen and the Red Bull cars really didn't have that much pace this race weekend. So I feel like in the game you hardly ever see the AI making too many gambles. Yes, they do make some mistakes here and there, but actually most of the time you'll notice it's due to wet weather transitions, you know, from inters to full wets, or, you know, dries to inters, or the other way around, you know, inters to dries, and it's usually because of that. But that's pretty level playing field because the player can also make those kind of mistakes as well. But in dry, you know, purely dry races, I don't think the AI really ever make that many mistakes. Yes, you can undercut them or overcut them, but they never make a big blunder or kind of a gamble like Merc did today, where they leave a car going for like 5-6 laps longer than really the pit window was instructed to just, you know, hope for a safety car or hope for, you know, something to happen in this race, basically. So I think it would be really cool to see that kind of thing play out. I don't know how hard that would be to kind of engineer into it, a bit of a random number generator in terms of teams rolling the dice or the AI having to look at the situation. I mean, that is quite a complex system, I will fully admit, but it would be nice, because obviously you guys know as a player, you can make that gamble, it can pay off, you know, as many times it does sometimes for me in my career mode, and sometimes it doesn't, a la the gamble I made, I think it was like 2 episodes ago in career mode. So yeah, I just think it would be kind of nice to see the AI alter doing that. But that leads me on to number 2, again to do with the AI, this time your kind of teammate, and I've said this before in terms of having your AI teammate be a bit more, you know, autonomous by himself, kind of doing things on his own with the pit strategy. We've talked about having team orders maybe to not pit in this lap because I want to pit in, where you saw that dynamic of Ferrari of, you know, Leclerc stays out, so Vettel is called into the pit lane earlier, and you get that swing and ebb and flow of maybe a switch round, but you never really see that with your teammate. You maybe see it sometimes out of your mistake of not coming in, but you never really see your teammate taking the initiative of coming in earlier maybe, or wanting to stay out there to try and prolong his tyres. And so I think it'd be kind of nice to have your AI teammate have their own separate strategy window, because it always feels like whatever you're given on the default screen, like when you boot up the game, obviously you go to the grid, you have that strategy window, you have that default strategy. It's always kind of, I feel like every single car, even actually not your teammate, every single car has the copy and paste default strategy. It'd be cool to actually know and see that every team, and especially your teammate as well, has maybe a slightly different strategy there on that default screen. That slightly pre-planned strategy is going to be different by, you know, 1 or 2 laps on this stint, on 1 or 2 laps on the second stint, or maybe they've, you know, changed the tyre around, but you really don't see that a lot, especially on this year's game. Actually, 2018 was actually a little bit better for the AI, especially outside the top 10, going on different tyres, whereas I don't know if it's just me maybe thinking more into it, but on this year's game I feel like they do that less. They don't actually go for that different constant strategy as much as they used to last year, especially if you do full qualifying as well. A lot of the time every single AI car is qualifying on the soft tyres. They go into Q3 and they don't really do that too much. So I guess this point kind of merged into just overall just the tyre strategies need to be a bit more dynamic, like we saw in Singapore. Very differing ones. You know, we saw the likes of Gasly and Giovinazzi come back through with a great contra strategy, and so I just want to see more of that in the game, and I feel like 2019's been a step back from 2018 of seeing those contra strategies, so kind of rectify it for 2020, I guess. Number 3 is going to be a bit of a wacky and out there one, but this is basing off Daniel Ricciardo being disqualified from qualifying for electrical deployment, I think it was, or something like that. He basically deployed too much energy somewhere around the lap, I think it was, in qualifying. Don't know the exact logistics of it because I didn't really read into it too much, but he got disqualified from qualifying, and that got me thinking, it would be cool to have a system like they have in Motorsport Manager. If you've played that game, that manager game, that you can actually risk parts in Motorsport Manager, and the CMA, which is like the FIA in that game, basically they investigate everyone. There's a kind of random number generator kind of potluck of if you get caught out having a risky part. I don't know how it would exactly work, and maybe it would kind of get annoying maybe if you did get caught too many times, but it'd be kind of cool to be able to maybe risk maybe deploying a bit too much electrical energy, or pushing the limits in the boat out on your car base. How many times have we talked about debated in F1 of flappy front wings and this and that, and the parameters of the engine, and whatnot, and the FI investigating. It'd be kind of cool maybe to have that element of kind of surprise, maybe of you could risk it a little bit, and that if the FI investigate you at the end of the session, you might be able to be thrown out of the qualifying session, thrown out of the race. But like I said, this one's a bit of a wacky one, but I think it would just be kind of a bit of fun, really. It would kind of maybe also mimic real life a bit more of having certain every I don't know 7 races, something like that. One guy getting disqualified or getting a penalty for infringement, because we do see it quite consistently at least once or twice in a season where people do get chucked out of quali, or they get a huge penalty for having it. I mean, Alfa Romeo had that clutch issue at the German Grand Prix, so that was another kind of electrical issue of like the system mapping. But it'd be cool to kind of have that of like, oh, okay, so you might get a better start of this race because we now know the system map's kind of broken, but we might also get a penalty later on, so don't get too happy about your race result, something like that. I'm just chucking the boat out there for this definite third very out there idea. Number 4, now going back to teammates, is going to be this whole concept that we saw this race, unfortunately to Bottas' detriment, of basically he was told to just sit back basically and make sure that he didn't actually overtake Hamilton, because Hamilton went long. Bottas was told just to cool things down. Quote, I think it was Will Buxton that said this on Twitter, basically he was forced to put his finger in his arse basically and just not do anything that entire race, Bottas, because, well, they wanted to make sure Hamilton was still able to maybe have some clean air to maybe attack Verstappen, maybe do something in the race even with fresher tyres. Alas, wasn't to be, and so essentially that order became just don't overtake Hamilton, we just want him to finish ahead of you basically. So it'd be cool, I think, if you are the first driver, you get the first driver contract, you earn that position in the race, it would be kind of cool to be able to tell your team, right, mate, I need some help here with strategy in the kind of, using both our cars. Can you tell my teammate, the second driver contracted, to help me out here, or whole station, slow down a little bit so I can get the undercut or anything like that, so I still stay out ahead of him, and vice versa. If you're the second driver, start of your career mode, you're going to get slapped around a little bit by your more senior teammate. He might call on you to kind of, simmer down a little bit, help him out basically, and it's your choice then of, do you agree, do you not, do you maybe, go against the team? That might change your reputation, and it would just make things so much more dramatic, a bit more edgy basically, if you could kind of go against your team and kind of maybe, I don't know, quote unquote, ruin your career a little bit, or, then jump ship to a different team because your team don't like you anymore, and it would just create a bit of excitement essentially, I think, on track, that moment, that kind of tension between your teammate, and again, getting your teammate a bit more involved in your race, because it always feels like he's a bit kind of distant in the race as soon as you kind of start and you go off 5 red lights. Number 5 is going to be more sensitive suspension, because we saw a really nasty DNF there for Raikkonen with a really stupid effort by Kvyat trying to overtake him down the inside of turn 1. Don't know what that was about, but he tried to make a move to the inside of turn 1, absolutely whacked Raikkonen's left front tyre, and the suspension arm just really caved in, the tyre got bent in, and you don't really see that at all in the F1 games. I think it would be cool to be possible. Right now, I think there is a nice kind of sense of you can make a dive bomb on an AI car, AI can make a dive bomb on you, and you can bang tyres a little bit, and banging tyres does happen in F1, and sometimes it's all fine, but I think when it's a huge whack like that, you don't really see the suspension arm caving in like that when it's car-to-car contact. You do see it when you hit a wall, I will admit, so the suspension damage is kind of okay if you hit a wall on the game, but I think car-to-car contact, it could be tweaked a little bit to be a bit more sensitive on the actual suspension arm itself, to have that bend in. At the same time as well, if you have a light kind of tap on the wall, it could just slightly bend the steering column a little bit, and then you have to try and, basically drive with that, have to turn right to just go in a straight line a little bit, try and keep the steering column in a straight line. I think it'd be kind of cool to have that, just another kind of measure of reliability and a bit of danger basically out there on the track, knowing that, your car's not indestructible, as it were. Number 6 is a kind of small one, cosmetic thing for the helmets here, but it got me actually thinking, hang on, we don't actually have this. It's quite a simple thing to actually put into the game, is for the player, we have all these special helmets for Singapore because it's a night race and stuff like that, and other drivers do change the way their helmet does look for certain tracks if it means something to them. I think we need to have helmet finishes available in the game. You can actually do it modding. If you actually mod the game on PC, you can change the helmet finishing, so you can have a bit more of a matte helmet finish, a chrome helmet finish, a sparkly one. You can actually mod that in if you're on PC, but across the board for the console users as well on the F1 games, I think they should be able to give us those files in the main menu system, the front end system, like we can change the colors and whatnot. I think we should be able to try and change change the kind of actual finish of the helmet themselves. There might be a slight bit of, helmet finish adjustment with the colors and the kind of way the luminosity is, I guess. But I think just having a, overall helmet finish change, the sparkly helmet, for the right night races, I just think it's a nice little touch of customization in the game that we don't have right now. And it's quite a simple thing, because I know from looking at the PC files, it's not a difficult system to maybe put in of like, okay, you've done the helmet design right now you apply the finish of this one, and it's a sparkly one for the night race. Just a little thing that came up, but it came to mind just because of the Singapore. Every single driver does it every single year for Singapore and Abu Dhabi, and it's just a bit more realistic to real life, isn't it? Because everyone does do it, so why can't we do it in the game? This one, I will admit, is a full tongue-in-cheek thing I want in F1 2020. I want the safety car back in F1 2020, please, because the safety car doesn't come out at all in this game yet. I don't know, they sort of maybe patched it. Some of you guys are saying if you restart your career or you do Grand Prix mode, it comes out more often than if you did career mode from the very start of the game, but I just want the safety car back. There were 3 in that race, I think, wasn't there? I lost count because there's that many safety cars in that race. Obviously, I know Singapore's a guaranteed safety car place, but it's not a guaranteed one in the game. I would just love to have the safety car back, please, Cody, for F1 2020. That would be kind of cool. I feel like we lost that feature in a way. It's almost like we've lost that feature because we literally never see it. I've had one safety car in 2.5 seasons in the career mode. It'd be kind of nice to have that one back, please, Cody. But that one, I will admit, it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek one for the 6th one, so a bit of a cheat there. But there we go. That has been 6 things that I want to see in the F1 2020 career mode here, basing off the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix weekend. Guys, if you did enjoy the video and you agree with some of these points, then be sure to let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button and let me know in the comments below any others you might have thought of from the Singapore Grand Prix. I might have missed one, the one that comes to mind from you guys watching the race weekend, the TV coverage. And if you are new around here, subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been over. Have a just day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.